Hello and welcome to Mad About Film. Today I'm going to review Get Out, which is currently in cinemas and stars Daniel Kaluuya and Allison Williams. Let's have a look at the trailer.
You got your toothbrush?
Check.
Do you have your deodorant?
Check.
Do you have your cozy clothes?
Got that.
What?
Do they know I'm black?
Should they?
You might wanna,
Mom and Dad, my black boyfriend will be coming up this weekend. I just don't want you to be shocked that he's a black man.
I ain't never seen you like this before, bruh. Meeting families and taking road trips. Don't come back all bougie, man. Come back, got your damn pants up to your damn stomach.
So you guys coming up from the city?
Yeah, we're just heading up for the weekend.
Can I see your license, please?
He wasn't driving.
I didn't ask who was driving. I asked to see his ID.
Call me Dean and you're hungry, my man.
So how long has this been going on, this thing? We hired Georgina and Walter to help care for my parents. When they died, I couldn't bear to let them go.
Do you smoke in front of my daughter?
I'm gonna quit.
She'd take care of that for you.
How?
Hypnosis.
I'm good, actually.
You ready for this?
I'm back in the beat.
So look, I go do my research. Apparently, a whole bunch of brothers been missing in this suburb. But it's cool. Bro, how you not scared of this, man?
Good to see another brother around here.
Chris was just telling me how he felt much more comfortable with my being here. Get out.
Sorry, man.
Get out!
Yo! Rose, we gotta go.
Is everything okay?
Rose, the keys. Just get the keys.
I don't know where they are.
Rose?
Sink into the floor.
Wait.
Sink.
Mine is a terrible thing to waste. Terrible thing to waste.
If there's too many white people, I get nervous.
No. No. No.
Mine is a terrible thing to waste.
What I love about this film is that it's a really interesting premise for a horror film. I say horror, it wasn't for me kind of a horror, it was more like a psychological thriller, and I think that's what is the main thing that kind of stands out for me in this film. There's ideas of race and gender and also a subtext, which is really important in terms of the values of what's going on in America at the moment. The opening gambit of the film is that it's basically a couple that goes to see the parents, but the difference with this couple is that, Daniel Kaluuya's character is black and is called Chris Washington, and Allison Williams' character is called Rose Armitage and she's white. That's the thing that is the kind of juxtaposition of the whole situation, but the fact is it's actually quite a normal premise, and for a couple to go see the parents, it doesn't really matter about the colour of the skin. But what you do know when you go see this film is that the subtext is already there, that there's challenging perceptions of how people are perceived in America, and I think that's very important to understand when you go see this film. It also is funny in a respect that kind of makes it enjoyable in terms of, the whole race issue and the race card. It's going to be quite cringy and you have to be very careful. I'm trying to be very careful with doing this review, knowing that I have to be careful about what I say in a public space. But at the same time, it's when you play with perception, you play with the ideas of how people see race and how people can make things awkward or make things cringeworthy. That's the question that comes across at the very beginning of this film. So let's get to the story. The story of the film is basically they go see the parents, and the parents live in this kind of sort of southern sort of backward kind of suburbia. I say backward because you don't really know whether it's backward or not at the beginning. It looks very nice. So Chris and Rose meet the parents, played by Catherine Keener and Bradley Whitford, and it's all kind of, la-di-da. They basically kind of meet the parents, and one thing that actually comes across is that they live in a kind of sort of middle class to upper class kind of suburban society in America. One thing that also comes across at the beginning of the film is that Chris Washington smokes. He does actually smoke, and that's something that kind of plays into the plot device of the film, when knowing that the mother can actually hypnotise people and help people cure people as such of them smoking. So in this case, it does become a part of the story where the whole ball starts to get rolling because Chris smokes. So yeah, I won't spoil it too much, but you have to see the film. Two other captures that are really interesting is that when Chris actually turns up to the house, and again, it's kind of the creepy aspect is that the housekeeper and the groundsman are black. So being a black person coming to see the parents for the first time, there's this kind of aspect of like, not saying anything, but the fact is that, why are the servants and why is the groundskeeper and why is the housemaid black and all the rest, and that awkwardness kind of comes through and it's handled really well. The groundskeeper and the housemaid are played by Marcus Henderson and Betty Gabriel. And Betty Gabriel does give a really good performance as the housekeeper because she's very creepy and does it really, really well. You do know when you go into this film that, the film itself is trying to say something about the divisiveness of race in America, and I like it because of that. It's important that cinema challenges people's perceptions, and I think it's important that films, however small they are, however kind of sort of big and impactful they can be from the Hollywood canon, that they just actually make us think. And I think that's the best thing about Get Out. It really does make us think about ideas of how we're perceived in the world. The underlying themes and the tone of the film is kind of a subtext to what's going on in the world politically today. The hierarchical society in America, how white middle class America imposes its value on the strata of society. It's a very, very interesting commentary. The questions that cinema brings to the forefront is that, what's really changed since the 60s, the 70s into, the noughties. Do people still live in this dreamland as such? And those themes are all part of Get Out, which I think is really, really important when it comes to watching a film and understanding what a film can do to you, and also basically to make you think about these things. There's one character that really steals the show, and that's Rod. That's Chris Washington's best friend in the film, and he's played by Lilrel Howery. What can I say about this character? He's absolutely brilliant. He's funny. He's forward-thinking. He's exciting, and he kind of reminded me of like a young Eddie Murphy in the way he comes across. And he goes on about the realities of the situation, how he shouldn't get involved with the white girl, and he shouldn't go meet the parents, and he's looking after the interests of his best friend Chris Washington. And I honestly thought he was absolutely hilarious every single time he was on screen. So to see this film alone for Lilrel Howery would be a good idea. Other actors that get a special mention are Lakeith Stanfield, who plays one of the characters at the beginning and also is a vital point in the film, and also Caleb Landry-Jones, who last time I saw him was an X-Men First Class, I think, as Banshee, but he does a really good role as the brother of the creepy family. What I really enjoyed about the film as well in terms of the tone was that it kind of evoked films of the 80s and the 90s, a horror film that kind of stands out today because it's just clever. It kind of is interesting and it challenges perceptions, and horror films are supposed to do that. Even though it's kind of got a B-movie feel to it, what's great is that it's a bit Stepford Wives, it's a bit Don't Look Now, and it's a little bit Village of the Damned. It's kind of, that kind of join us kind of situation, and that's what I like about this film. The paranoia also of the situation kind of comes into play, and it kind of gives you a sense of the paranoia of the political state of America today, which is what is good about this film. The film itself seems to be a reflection of its age, and it's all the better for it. One thing I didn't like about the film is that I thought, and I heard a lot of hype about it, and the thing is that I thought it would be really much more scarier than it was. I wanted it to be scarier. I wanted to kind of I wanted to jump out of my seat at times, but it wasn't that scary. It wasn't like, oh my god, this is really scary. It wasn't that scary. It was just kind of like middling scary. So yeah, I think the hype definitely preceded me going to see this film. The audience though that I did watch it with was into it, and I think it was really, really great to watch it at Peck and Plex in South East London. The audience just really enjoyed it, and it's been a while since I've gone to a cinema and had a really full experience. And when you're enjoying it with the audience, everyone's kind of screaming and shouting at the film. That's kind of last time I had that was when I saw Air Force One in probably 1992 in America when I was 12. So that was in America. So to have that in England, in London, was great. I mean, it was just a really great experience to go watch this film. So watch it with a great audience on a late night on a Saturday. It's a good film to see in the cinema. So Get Out, for me, is this generation's Scream, with all its kind of ideas of political tension and subtext and ideas of, how the state of America is today, plus the idea of the race and the gender issue. That's kind of important in terms of couples and how we see strata in society in general. But also the shocks and horrors, they weren't that great. I think they could have been a bit scarier, to be fair. The experience itself was great, but I did feel surprisingly flat when I came out of the film, so I'm going to give it 3.5 out of 5. But, of all the films that I've seen in the last week, I think Get Out is up there, so I would highly recommend it. If you'd like to see another review, please click here. Hi, Mum. All right? I'm talking to myself.